Hi everyone and welcome. This is the Apostate Prophet. As a Turkish Muslim who was born in Germany, I really tried to like Turkey. I ended up hating it much more than on the day I arrived, and leaving Islam only made that feeling stronger. I could have stayed in Turkey and demanded to change the country according to my Western values and views. But what I did instead was to leave the country and to move to America, where I feel at home again, reunited with values that I actually like. Many people don't do this. They stay in a country that they don't like and live with values that they firmly reject, and I will never be able to understand that. My parents moved to Germany as part of a concept the German state called Gastarbeiterprogramm, guest worker program. The idea was to host workers from different countries for a short time, because there was a labor shortage in Germany. It was thought that these foreign workers would work in Germany for a couple years, help build German industries that were already booming, and then go to their home countries and help those countries grow as well, with the money and experience they obtained in the industrially superior Germany. It was a win-win, or so they thought. They were wrong. Germany initially didn't want to make a guest worker agreement with Turkey, but ended up agreeing under pressure of the United States, which considered Turkey a potential ally in the Cold War era. Morocco and Tunisia followed. Turks quickly became a majority among these guest workers, because Germany was so promising to the politically and financially struggling Turks. More and more workers from Turkey didn't return after the terms were over, because Germany was just such a better place to live than Turkey. On top of that, many of those guests from Turkey, Morocco and Tunisia became jobless after a while, but still stayed. Germany offered the people money to return to their countries, but most of them rejected it and stayed. The people of Germany were not happy, parties and the government were not happy, and these guest workers brought their families to Germany as well. The whole idea was a major failure. It turned Germany from a non-immigration country to an immigration-receiving country. Germany now had to think about how to integrate these people, together with all the refugees and others that came and always stayed. This made Germany a multicultural country, where ethnic Germans are now 80% of the population, and Islam is 6% and growing. Which of course comes together with Islamic organizations like the DITIB, the Turkish Islamic Union for Religious Affairs, an organization that supports Muslims in Germany and has repeatedly participated in scandalous activities and Christophobic, anti-Semitic and anti-Western hate speech. Wow, this is the first time I see a website use the word Christophobic. Hooray! This organization is known to lead numerous mosques in Germany and teach the Turkish and Muslim identity to children. When I was at school, a typical teacher from this organization, assigned to Muslim students, was the first person in the teacher authority to teach me that we were morally superior, that we needed to stay loyal to our identity, and that Christians were immoral people, just like the normal German population that drinks alcohol and eats pork, goes around having immoral sexual relationships, and lives in vain. Funny, I never got a proper answer on why we are living in Germany, if this is how Germans are, if this is what we think of them, and if we are better. Well, we are here now, and maybe, things will change in the future. Maybe we all go back. Maybe Islam will rise. When I was a child, I saw many Islamic religious organizations that gathered Muslims in high numbers and proclaimed the importance of keeping and upholding the Muslim identity and Islamic traditions among the community. Parents that value such things consequently teach their children the same thing. To keep their identity, to not be assimilated, not to be corrupted by immoral Germans, Christians, atheists. Ew. Let's not even say the name of that other group that is gladly a tiny minority now. Things develop this way or in similar ways in other European countries, especially in Western ones. And the problem with this is not that they have a different religion from the local religion. This is not about bigotry, xenophobia, or whatever nonsense someone will raise. The problem is that the religion in question here is a religion that is entirely incompatible with Western values and achievements, incompatible with the local culture. They protest Western schools that don't conform with their Islamic values, complain about pork at the local restaurant or store, Ask for halal stickers and certifications, something I want to talk about soon. Demand the acceptance of loud mosques. Complain about moral issues that completely conform with the local culture. Complain about what people can and can't joke about, what should and should not be shown on TV. Demand regulations on local traditions, like Christmas, and so on. Instead of adapting to the local culture, being quiet about it and living on, or simply leaving for a country that they actually like, they choose to complain and forcibly change the culture that they came to, that embraced them, that they don't like. This is a normal result of uncontrolled mass immigration without proper integration. I'm not saying immigration is completely bad, that it should be completely stopped and ended. I'm saying uncontrolled immigration without proper integration doesn't work. It leads to social instability, no matter where it happens. And we can see that by now in Germany, in Sweden, in the UK, in France, in the Netherlands, and so many other countries. I'm not saying this is because Muslim people are inferior. The same thing would happen if European people, Western people with Western values and culture, migrated in masses to the Islamic world. Things would get out of control, out of hand. We need to be able to talk about immigration and integration. All of us, no matter what your political views are and what party you support. Europe has been opening to immigration like no other culture in the world. And the results are changes to the local culture, a challenging of local values that comes as a result of that. As a consequence, the rich history and culture of Europe will have to go through a transition that many people probably don't want. Because people want to protect the values they have that made them so great. This is nothing unique to Europe. Europe is actually very lenient when it comes to traditions and culture, very tolerant. If you criticize the national traditions and values in Turkey, you will be called a traitor by the vast majority of the population and can even face legal problems. And the vast majority of the population will want to preserve the Turkish identity. If you go deeper into the Middle East and North Africa, you better shut up about criticism directed at your culture. Immigration from other cultures, and especially non-Islamic ones, no one wants that. So why is Europe so different, so open? Why do we call each other racists in Europe if someone simply wants to protect the future of the country that has been just great so far? Let's take freedom of speech for example, a wonderful value that is perfect for progress and popular rule, a value that you can hardly find around the world. If you're a left-leaning liberal person and think being concerned about immigration is so Nazi, you should definitely be afraid of losing this value. How will you speak up if you don't have freedom of speech in the future? Freedom of speech defines and makes possible most of our objections to the president or the prime minister or the government in the West. It allows you to go out and protest without objections and even gives you the right to depict Merkel as a pig. Say F Trump or sing God Save the Queen by the Sex Pistols. Or you can go online and talk about how awful Christianity is, the local religion. You can say anything as long as you don't incite violence. In the Islamic world, you can say things that incite violence, but you can't say all the other things. If all these examples were from the Islamic world, you couldn't do any of these things. You could go to jail for insulting the leader of the country in Turkey. In others, you would be executed for that. And criticizing the local religion, Islam? You can't find many outspoken ex-Muslims in the Islamic world. They are usually in the West. Because in this world, the Islamic world, if you criticize Islam, you will be punished for blasphemy. Or in other words, for disrespecting the religion of the public. Assuming you made it alive, of course, and survived the death penalty or the lynching for your apostasy. No matter on what side of the political spectrum you are, immigration from a different culture means that this culture will have an influence on your country and will likely want to change it if the immigrating party doesn't successfully integrate, which, as Germans know by now, after discussing it for 4 decades, very often doesn't work. Yes, I am an integrated immigrant, but I'm not in the majority. I would be called a traitor, or I am called a traitor, or a rebel by most. We could talk about women's rights, and how women are treated. We could talk about LGBT rights, same-sex marriage. We could talk about religious influence in politics, freedom of the press, or just freedom in general. Again, I'm not suggesting we should stop immigration, close the border, and deport all immigrants. I'm not suggesting we should be violent. But exactly for that reason, we should be able to sit down and talk about immigration and let people make decisions about very important things that will shape the future of the country, of our children, without being called a xenophobe or a Nazi or a hateful bigot, simply for saying mass immigration is probably not right. The people who give generations to a country should have a say in the future of the country. The people who build should have a say. They should naturally be able to decide and to be concerned about how safe and secure the future of their country is, their home, without being called names and labels. We should not leave the discourse to childish name-calling, followed by social and legal censorship, followed by a mass silencing of opinions, followed by mass violence in the streets, by mentally unstable and disturbed people who think that that is somehow the solution, because we can't talk. We need to talk. We need to be able to talk. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to spread this video if you like it, and to subscribe. Most of my videos are not monetized. If you want to support me and my cause and this channel, you can support me on Patreon. Thank you all so much for your contributions. Please, let's stop violence, and let's stop chaos and name-calling. But most importantly, stay away from Islam.